All right. Happy Friday. It's happy Aloha Friday. Every Friday's Aloha Friday. From your hat dude wearing mortgage guy with the boss man, Craig Garcia, president of Capital Partners Mortgage.
Hello, Bill.
You have a great week so far, Craig? You're getting ramped up for the weekend?
Today was great, man. Today was great. Yeah, actually, I had a special delivery. I think I told you of some lychees to the office here. My mom
I
stopped
love
by,
lychee. Lychees are
and
great.
lychees are amazing. I planted a lychee tree in my backyard 4 years ago. It has not borne anything at all. So I still have to.
Probably because them damn iguanas, man.
It could be. So got to get my lychees from the store.
Yeah, I hear you. I planted a key lime tree about a year ago, and I got two little key limes on there. But this year, the first year, I do have two avocados still. I do have two avocados.
Ooh, I love avocados.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Good.
that's going good. But well, as usual, we talk about mortgage rates,
Yeah.
kind of what's going on in the mortgage world. We want to try to highlight a product or a specialty thing. We want to empower our realtors, our referral partners here that are joining us on our podcast. So we want to give some nice new information and also talk about maybe some national stuff
Sure.
and maybe some even stuff in the news, some kind of fun stuff too.
Sure.
So, I always kick it off with the Freddie Mac weekly survey came out. We're kind of dipped slightly lower, they say this week. We're still kind of below that 7% range, maybe the 6.875 range.
Yeah.
So that's good news.
Yeah.
More news this week where President Trump, I saw actually went and met with Chairman Powell.
I see a new reality show, The New Odd Couple, Trump and
All right.
Powell.
No, dude, it's a great one.
It looks like it would be pretty entertaining.
It does.
That was
Yeah.
pretty awkward. So,
It was pretty awkward. So what's your take on that, Craig?
I think they say every president, the biggest weapon that they have, they're on the bully pulpit, and Trump uses it like nobody else, and so I think
And,
he's.
and they said he's the first president to actually go to meet with the chairman at the. Did I read that right? Like 20 years or something?
I didn't catch that. I mean, I think I heard something about that, but I didn't. I
Yeah.
didn't pay attention to that part. But
I don't know. We get bombarded with
yeah,
so much information and everything. It's kind of hard to remember everything. But I thought I'd read something like that.
I think he's trying to manufacture a rate cut at some point in the near future. So.
Right. Well, I mean, I keep reading stuff in the news about how the administration is trying to do more things to try to help the housing market. I mean, you and I, we read that one article about this week about, eliminating capital gains on homes. I thought that was very interesting, especially the percentage of people that could, if they sold it would affect a lot more people than I thought.
I was surprised too. Yeah, I was definitely surprised. That would be definitely pretty interesting. I mean, it would be interesting to know whether that would motivate some people to,
Yeah.
to say, hey, listen, maybe I'll give up this pretty rate that I have to, you know what I mean? I'm not going to pay capital gains tax. So,
Yeah.
I think that would be great.
I think the good news overall is that the administration they want to do something with housing.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Sometimes that's not good, but I think in our free market kind of society, so to speak, at least they want to do something. They want to get more homes moving. They want people to buy houses. So I think that's good news for everything overall. But hey,
Yes.
our values are still there,
Yeah.
and it is. I mean, I had two closings today. Woohoo! Opposite ends of the state.
That's a good
down
Friday.
here. Yeah, Good Friday. Happy Friday. I had a nice closing down here in South Florida and another closing up in the Tallahassee areas. Our realtor partners sometimes they're not aware that. Oh, hey, you guys land in other parts of the state. As a matter of fact, Craig, this wonderful borrower that I closed to in Tallahassee, she was referred by Sherry Delgado right here in our Coral Springs office on the debris team. It was
Okay.
her. Yeah, Sherry was her listing agent down here. She sold her house, and Sherry said, and thank you, Sherry, for the endorsement. Hey, why don't you call Bill? Bill can do mortgage over Florida. And I spoke with the borrower. She was relocating to Tallahassee. Her daughter's going to be a Seminole. And just graduated high school, her daughter, and
Knowles.
this borrower is go Knowles. Yeah, you know it. I know you're a Knoll. Both my daughters are Knowles.
Yep.
And she moved to Tallahassee, and we got her done today, and we got her closed even before. Now here's a topic of conversation. She hasn't even started her job yet. We got her closed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean that's a great thing right there. People don't realize it.
Yes.
And I want to expand on this, Craig.
Yeah.
So both borrowers I closed today, both borrowers are, because of who we are, Capital Partners, and we've got our own underwriters. I've got you. I said, hey, listen, here's my borrower. Here's what they're looking to accomplish. Can we get it done? My borrower, she was a teacher down here for 20 years. She left the one job. She got hired by Leon County in Tallahassee. I got with Lori, our processing manager, and said, hey, can we do this? She checked with our underwriters and said, yeah, we could do that. She hasn't even started yet. She's starting her job technically next Thursday.
Right.
And we're closing. We closed her.
That's awesome.
You know,
And it was a
it's
pretty
awesome.
quick deal, right?
Very quick deal. We got it done like 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah,
And,
that's a
and
great story.
and so then my second one, my second borrower today,
Yep.
um, sweet young lady. I worked with her years ago at Home Bank Mortgage, and she has two jobs. She's self-employed, works for an airline. We got the verification of employment up front. She had some bonus income, et cetera, et cetera. I submitted it to process and the underwriting. We got it underwritten approved. We got our income calculations because, of course, in South Florida, almost every deal debt to income ratio is maxed, and we had her approved, ready to go, and she went out and found a place, and her debt to income ratio, of course, is at like 49.9%, and we got her approved, and she closed today. And because the fact that we approved her up front before she went out looking for a home with her realtor, she was empowered and she knew exactly this is my max PITI, and she found the max PITI place for her.
Yeah, no, it's really it's great, and people don't, it is pretty wild when you think about, you have somebody who wants to buy this house, it's $500,000 house, you know what I mean, and and the whole deal of whether that person can buy the house or not can sometimes come down to $30 a month
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
monthly payment. And,
yeah.
having a team of people kind of working in coordination between the insurance and the processor and the title company and the realtor and the loan officer, I mean, it takes everybody in tandem sometimes to help this person achieve the goal of buying this house, especially when it happens in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And when it's tight like that, it's that's a great thing. And when it all works well, it's like I mean, it's like listening to good music. It's pretty cool
Oh yeah,
to
yeah,
experience.
yeah.
So yeah.
Exactly. And especially if it's even like Ozzy, R.I.P. Ozzy. You brought up music, and I was saying like this week we had some some national news, and
Yeah.
Ozzy Osbourne, God bless him, 76 years old. I don't know about you, Craig. I'm 55 years old. Ozzy was my first rock hero. My parents hated that guy,
Yeah.
but the guy was a legend. And you know what? Yesterday I was listening to his first couple albums, and what a lyricist! I mean, actually, his songs were amazing. You listen to them now. You listen to the lyrics. I mean, not the the whole satanic stuff, but I mean, good
Yeah.
stuff, man. Really, really
Yeah.
good
No, I
stuff.
mean that he influenced a whole lot of the rock that came that came later. The stuff that I
Sure.
probably like to listen to, and I mean, gosh, yeah, I remember when I first yeah, I grew up and Ozzy was on MTV and you know what I mean and that type of thing, and then I think years later I actually discovered Black Sabbath, you know what I mean,
Right.
and
Right.
some of the early stuff, and yeah, no, I mean, obviously there was a a whole outpouring across the music landscape for for and attributing him, so it was
Yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah.
the guy lived a full life, I'm sure. I mean,
He did live
yeah,
a full life. There's no doubt about
yeah,
it. But to get back to your point, it was like good music when we get a couple of closings,
yep,
and we do a lot of things that work all together. And like I said, these two closings today, there's so many good stories for our referral partners here too.
yep.
My second closing I had today down here, this young lady, she had a 2-1 buy down. She had seller concessions. Speaking of seller concessions, Craig, I think you were telling me earlier you did some numbers, and you were asking me like how much do you think, how many deals are we closing that have seller concessions right now?
So out of the deals that we've closed so far this month, 40% of the purchase transactions, there's some type of credit coming from the seller on those deals. So
Wow.
that is quite the statement when, I mean, listen, the vast majority of the time that I've been doing business down here in South Florida, we're talking like the last 25, years, you
Right.
know, um, seller concessions have not always been something that's possible. I mean, there's definitely been
Oh no.
years where you ask the seller for credit and they're going to move on to some other offer. You know what I mean? So
Right.
the idea that hey, it is really a good time to be a buyer in some respects. That would be definitely one of them. I mean, if you want to negotiate and get into the property, get some credits towards your closing costs. Get some credit if you're not happy with the rates right now. Get a credit from the seller, buy your rate down permanently. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or do the 2-1 buy down. And you guessed it better than I did. But
I thought it was 50% because I at the closing today at the closer, he asked me, he's like,
yeah,
all these deals I see, I can't get in. He says almost every deal we see has seller concessions. I was like, I said, yeah, most of the deals I'm doing right now, they all have seller concessions. So 50, that's why I said 50%. I thought I was
yeah.
a little under, but I mean, historically, that's still much higher than we normally see, right?
Hugely higher.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say even in a normal market, not a hardcore seller's market,
Right.
that's still a lot. So that's the interesting thing. So prices have kind of stayed, depending on where you are, but they've stayed. They've not like it's not like prices are dropping, but more
Right.
stuff is happening to make the deals come together. And so
Yeah.
so if you're an agent and you're working with buyers, hey, that people are they're getting concessions.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get what you're asked for. So that's
Yeah. No,
that's great.
it's great. I mean, like I said, my borrower today, the young lady down here, she got the 2-1 buy down. Her agent got her actually a little more in concessions, so she got the seller to pay for the 2-1 buy down. She had a couple $1,000s left over to pay for some other closing costs.
Yep.
So that was great news. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities here, and you go back, and I know we're talking a lot of topics here, but I always
Yeah.
try to give some information to our referral partners. Speaking of seller concessions,
Yep.
and me being a veteran and doing VA loans, the perception is, oh, VA allows 4% on seller concessions, but really it's a lot more than 4%, Craig. I mean, right?
This is probably one of the most widely misunderstood mortgage rules that even professional people don't really get, because usually, if you're asking mortgage people or real estate agents, hey, how much can a seller give you on a conventional loan? And usually it's 3%, and if they put more down, it's 6%. FHA, hey, you can get 6%. And if you ask about VA, the answer is usually you can get 4%,
Right.
which is really, it's even way beyond that, because what the 4% is, let's put it this way. VA allows seller, if you can negotiate it as the veteran, to ask the seller to pay for all of your closing costs and all of your prepaids. It's allowed, even if it's more
Yeah.
than 6%. So
Yeah.
the 4% is you can get all the closing costs and all the prepaids taken care of. The 4% is like for other things, like concessions, where you usually wouldn't be allowed to do that on a regular loan. And I'll give you a great example. The seller's allowed to give a credit, and that credit can be used to pay off debt for the veteran to help them qualify, which is pretty wild.
That's huge. Say that again. So you got a veteran,
Uh-huh.
right? High debt to income. Hey, they get this car they got to pay off or something like that. And you're telling me that the seller can pay off that person's car. Now remember, it has to appraise. Remember,
It does have to
it's
appraise.
got to appraise.
Yeah.
It's tied to something, and they pull it out
Right.
of thin air.
Right.
But if the seller agrees to concession, if the home appraises, the seller can pay all these closing costs and possibly debt for the borrower to qualify.
That's right. So
Wow.
so the seller really wants to make a deal happen, and they get a
Yeah.
VA buyer. I mean, it's funny. Sometimes there's this perception that that's going to be a bad deal for me to accept the VA because
Yeah.
they're going to beat up the condition of my home and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I think that's probably a little bit more overblown than reality. But the good news is, hey, that veteran should be able to do 100% financing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then B, if you really want to keep the deal together, the idea that you can pay off, you can give him money for the down payment and closing costs, not down payment, pardon me, closing costs and prepaids.
Right.
But you could also give him a credit, and that money he can use to pay off, like you say, his car, for example, to
Yeah.
get the debt ratio in line so that the guy can close, or the woman can close. There's no other program that lets you do that. I mean,
No.
not even
No.
close. So anyway, I thought that was pretty neat. We actually used that on a transaction here in the last, probably 6 weeks, and I was waiting for a chance to talk about it because it's just not something that you see a lot, and most people would be very surprised to know that that's something that you could possibly do. So
Right. And,
yeah.
and so on that particular deal, so how much? What they were paying off a car or something, and how much was that?
It wasn't a car. It was an installment loan. So
Okay.
it was several $1,000s, and they
Right.
needed it to get the debt ratio in line to be able to make the deal work.
I mean, really, at the end of the day, the way to look at it is, they're kind of just financing that into their home.
Right. Yeah, that's
You
correct.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
At
no,
the
it's
end of
true.
the day,
Yeah, no.
You know, um,
In those
but
situations, you're
but it's helping their cash flow.
absolutely. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And if they can get into the property plus pay off some debt and everything, and
Yeah.
I mean, like some of those transactions can be structured, like the deal that you did recently. That wasn't even a veteran loan, but where you structure the whole transaction where they get in with a little bit of money. You
Yeah.
can do that with a VA loan certainly, and that happens pretty often. So
Great stuff.
yeah, for sure.
Great stuff. So, kind of wrap up here before we get into our last question of the day.
Okay.
So we get VA is 4% plus whatever the seller would agree to. Basically, they can pay off all different types of stuff.
Yep.
There's just so many options with VA. We talked about two and buy downs. We talked about almost half the deals we're closing have seller concessions. So if you're an agent out there, why not ask for seller concessions? I mean,
Right.
it's
That's right.
happening. That's for sure. Rates are
Yep.
still looking good, or in that 6.875 kind of ballpark range. And the president of the United States keeps wanting to get mortgage rates lower. So
He's
let's
trying.
hope. He's trying. Let's hope he's successful. So but I wanted to, we've had a guest I think once before. We're going to start having guests regularly, right,
Yep.
Craig?
That's right.
But your question, which I do love this question, is like, what's the one movie? So I'm asking Craig, what is the one movie that you've seen probably, 50 times or 100 times? What's the one flick that, whenever you're flicking through channels, it comes on, I'm like, I got to watch that again.
So, it's funny, the one that the one that I've seen so many times. Well, there's a few because I watch TV with my wife, and so my wife has some movies that she's seen. So there's movies that I don't even like that I've seen
Right.
many, many, many times. But the
Yeah,
one that I like that I've probably seen a surprising number of times is Bridesmaids with what's it, Kristen Wiig.
Really?
That's a great movie.
It is? Okay, I'll take your word for it.
That is a great comedy. That is
Is it really?
I laugh every time I watch it, and yeah, I think that would surprise some people, but yeah.
So you're trying to tell me that that question that you asked, that you pondered of any other of these people, Craig, that you said, hey, this is it. And if somebody asks you, look, I just asked you, you're going to tell me it's Bridesmaid.
For a surprise pick, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
It's because it's in regular rotation. It's on all the time, and it ends
Okay.
up getting on. So
Well, your question is, what's a surprise pick? Is what your question is, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I could say, it's
How
funny.
about yourself, Bill?
Well, my surprise pick, believe it or not, I think you'd believe Greece.
Greece. Okay. That is.
As a kid, I was in third grade. It came out. I wanted to be Danny, and of course, it was Grease. We watch it, gazillions of times. Back then we ate HBO. Little kids watched it all the time. And it's funny, I didn't watch it probably, I don't know, 25 years, something like that. When my daughters were little, my ex-wife and I would watch it with them, and I'm like, wow, look at all the innuendos in this show. Like, I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
So recently, Kami and I were just hanging out, and it's like, I want to watch Grease. And so we pulled up, we watched it because I got a new big TV, nice sound, and I wanted to watch it blasting with good sound. We watched it, and we laughed. It was funny. It was really good to watch.
It holds up. I mean,
it does.
I mean, it's yeah. No, I still find it entertaining, and we've definitely seen that a number of times over the years.
Yeah.
I remember I had the 45.
I have the double album.
Yeah, I had the little. I mean, at least one of the records.
Really?
I was back in the record player days. Yeah.
Oh, I still have all my records.
Do you really?
Oh yeah, and I have a turntable and everything.
Wow,
And I've burned all my good LPs to CD.
So that's a weird thing that's happened, is that my son
Right.
owns vinyl records.
Yeah, both my daughters do. Yeah.
He this was like something that happened over the years where that became a thing where he wanted the vinyl records and he wanted a record player.
Yeah.
Just pretty interesting. So
Well, the sound is great. I mean, I burned all my old albums. I have all my dad's old Beatles albums, Beach Boys. I burned them to CD.
Yep.
And because the needle is amplified, the sound's better. They hear the you hear that in there too.
Huh.
But the sounds great.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. So
Cool.
All right, good stuff. I guess we went a little long today, but we covered a lot of information. And
We did.
yeah, I think some great stuff. And I mean, I think the VA takeaway, if I'm an agent watching this podcast, and the VA takeaway is to say, boy, the seller can really pay for all that stuff. And as our market, hey, listen, there's going to be more homes that are going to need the seller concession. This is a great marketable tool.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, for sure. And good spending the time with you this afternoon, Bill. Congratulations on the 2 closings today.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for your support and our wonderful staff at Capital Partners. And our ladies are kicking butt and taking names later, and my hat's off to them.
Awesome.
All right, have a great weekend, Greg.
All right. Well, we'll see you
At the closing table.
at the closing table.
I was there today, actually. It was good stuff.
Yes, you were. See ya.
All right, take care, Greg.